All right. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm joined today with a very special guest, Yiyi Zhang. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Yiyi runs New York Gumbo, and she's also involved with QWERTY, a game. What do you want to tell us what QWERTY is? A gaming group for LGBT people?
Oh yeah, Curator Gamers is a LGBTQIA plus games group based out in Los Angeles. It's mostly game players and not game developers, and I just volunteer doing some graphic design for them. But I'm not like super involved with them or anything since they're all the way out there and I'm in New York.
And you're also a lawyer, and you help asylum seekers.
Yes. Yeah,
And you're a
I got my legal training back in, oh God, graduated 2013. And yeah, most of my focus has been working with immigrants, mostly humanitarian cases.
and you're also a game developer, and you made two games. Do you want to shout those out and tell us what they're about, real quick?
I have, I guess I've made more than two games just on my own, some tabletop games, some video games for game jams, but currently I work for two different game studios, not doing the development part. I head up community and marketing for Heart Machine, which is based out in Los Angeles as well. We are working on Hyperlight Breaker, best known for Hyperlight Drifter back in the day, also Solar Ash. And I'm also contracting for a very small studio in Zurich called Knit and Pearl Game Studio, and we're making a little garden simulation game called Pocket Oasis.
Awesome, awesome. Well, it sounds like you have a lot going on in your life at all times, essentially.
Keeping busy. That's New York City though. Everybody has like a side hustle on top of their side hustle.
So you got into a little bit of a controversy recently about not even a controversy, but you got called out by a high-profile individual, someone who I've defended before, Kabrutus, and he's not officially offered a comment on the situation yet.
Okay.
Despite me reaching out to him a while ago, I talked with him a little bit on background. I told him he should talk with you,
Uh-huh.
uh, and I told him he
Is
should
he willing
apologize.
to? Because I'm down to chat.
I think he is. I don't know if his community manager people are willing to.
Uh,
Well, I don't know. We'll see.
See, that's
His
the thing. I do my own community management, so I can just run my mouth wherever I want.
there's great value in that, as I'm sure you've
Yeah,
ascertained.
there are no shackles here.
Well, I'm sure if he wanted to, if he's watching this, I'm sure he'd be willing to. It's just the initial response from his PR person was not the world's greatest, let's say.
Okay.
um,
That's fair.
anyway, you got critiqued over Gumbo. We can get into that specific controversy later on, but tell us what exactly is Gumbo, the New York City Gumbo Collective? What do you do?
Yeah, so Gumbo is a nonprofit collective of game developers. We are the city's largest collective of indie game developers, and we are essentially a co-working space, kind of like a WeWork, but for game devs. So everyone pays monthly dues to come into the space, to have a desk in the space, and just be around other developers and share resources, share skills. We engage in some amount of like negotiating with conventions like PAX East or GDC to get cheaper prices on booth space, things like that, things that can come out of collective bargaining. And it's really just, it started up because it's really hard to make games, especially if you're like an indie dev or a solo dev, to be working in isolation in your office or in your bedroom alone. So it's helpful to be around other people and have feedback and get play testing and get advice and like get tips on publishers or whatever. It's just a space for people to come together and support each other because making games is hard, living in New York City is hard, and putting those together, like you need all the help you can get.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. So, game developers, they pay a fee, they get to go there, they get access to these other people who are also
Mm-hmm.
working and passionate towards the same thing, and various resources and a space to do the work that they need to do.
Right,
And
exactly.
especially
And
in
we
a
host a lot
city.
of events. Yeah.
Well, what are some of the events that you host?
So I think we're up to now like 8 or something events regularly, monthly. We do playtest nights where devs from around the city bring in their games and have an audience to like try to break their games essentially and fix bugs. We also do the same for a tabletop playtest night. We have show and tells, which is kind of more of a showcase of this is my game, and um, please get some feedback, help us wish list, etc. We have a Women in Games meetup, which I run, which is just kind of a social slash networking group for women in the industry. And we have anime nights. We do we paint minis and Gundams. That's another thing that I run. And we just do like a monthly happy hour that's a social for everybody. And I'm sure there's other stuff that I'm forgetting, but those are the main ones that come to mind.
Okay. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
you work with this group. How long have you been with them? Did you found the organization yourself, or?
I was there very early on. It founded very casually in around 2015 when one of the developers, Jonah, he's like the dad of the organization. He had a space in a green desk, which is kind of just like a WeWork, but based in Brooklyn. And he was working in web dev, and on the side, he was making games. And he invited like some collaborators to come work on his games with him, who also were doing game dev or web dev during the day. And from there, people started realizing the value of being around other people who are making games, especially when you're trying to juggle a full time job and other life responsibilities. And I was there as one of the earlier devs at the time. I was working for another dev studio working on a small indie project. And from there, like, yeah, everything just exploded. Like more and more people started coming in. We outgrew that initial office space and people started renting out the WeWork spaces next to it. And eventually we took over the whole floor almost. And from there we decided, okay, it makes more sense to be like a more formal organization, because now there's like people wanted to donate money, people wanted to pay for the events or contribute food and stuff. So we sort of organically grew into something that was more of a formal entity from just like this small group of scattered people coming together once in a while.
And how many people would you say you have currently as part of your group?
Currently, we have 40-ish full-time members. So those are people who pay 250 a month to have a desk in the space. And then of those, they sort of embody around like 20 studios. Some of them work for larger studios like me at Heart Machine. Some of them work for themselves. Some of them are like a studio themselves. So there's like a 10-person-ish studio that's inside Gumbo called Computer Lunch. And yeah, some of them like work together in pairs, but it's all a variety of people, but I would say like 40.
All right. So, um, anything else you want to say about Gumbo before we move on to diversity, equity, inclusion stuff?
Gumbo's awesome. You should join and hang out.
Okay. So have done some work with diversity, equity, inclusion. This is something you seem to care about a lot. A lot of people in my community, I guess, are probably a little bit more skeptical when they hear those
Hmm.
words. So, do you want to lay out what that means to you and what sort of approach you like to take with it, and what sort of work you do with that?
Yeah, so for DEI work, I would not say I formally do any work in DEI. It's something I care about just as a person who is an immigrant and is a person of color and a woman in spaces that are not traditionally uh, dominated by people who look like me. So, in a sense, I go into spaces and want to make them feel more comfortable for everybody, including myself. And that means if I am going to, let's say, like a game dev party, I want to bring my girlfriends along. So I'm not like the only woman there because that's weird. Um, or if I go to an office and am helping out with hiring or something, and the founders are like, hey, we want to like bring in people with different backgrounds and different interests. Can you help us out with that? I'll be like, sure, let me reach out to various groups and try to bring a wider candidate pool to you. Just things like that.
So, when you say like a wider candidate pool, you mean like
Mm-hmm.
bringing in people, or what sort of qualifications or qualities do you look for in a person to see
Well,
if
that kind of depends on the role, right? Like if um, it really depends on the role. Like most recently, I was helping recruit for a technical audio designer, for instance, and for Heart Machine, that role required both knowledge of Unreal and C++, as well as like a background in creating sound effects and audio composition work. And that is kind of not typical of certain audio design roles, which don't require programming knowledge. So the search for someone to fill that role required reaching out to both the audio community and the programming community, because it's a role that kind of bridges the gap between those two disciplines. But I mean, it really depends, like role to role.
Okay. Now, do you usually take into account like someone's like we need more women, so we should or we need more diversity, so we want to hire people based on immutable characteristics, or does that not never take place really?
No, I mean that's illegal. You can't do that.
And you also said that you don't hire people with Gumbo specifically. That they're all volunteers. They paid basically. They're members.
Yeah, it goes kind of the opposite, where people pay to join us rather than um, be be paid to come in.
So I know some people, and I guess I'm more in this camp personally. Like we get the DEI emails at work, and they're always like, oh, there's no wrong answers. Well, I'm not sure. I always take their word at that when they say there's no wrong answers. I'm a little bit
Mm-hmm.
skeptical if you say the wrong thing to the wrong person sometimes. You might get in trouble when they
What do
ask for
you
feedback.
what
Um,
can you give an example of such a email? I'm
I guess
curious because I've
well,
never gotten
I'm not
a
gonna give one from like
DEI email.
my personal. I'm not gonna like give one from my personal work, but I guess like, are you familiar with James Damore's case?
Mm-mm.
He was a Google employee who
Uh-huh.
they asked for feedback regarding DEI.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up submitting a pretty lengthy. Uh,
Oh, the guy with the manifesto, was that
yeah,
it? They're
yeah.
like, oh yeah, 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 I remember that. That was funny.
Well, I didn't think it was
Yeah.
funny that he lost his job. I don't think he should have. But
Well, I think he lost his job because it seemed a little unhinged and like that overreaction to it, right? Like to me, I would be alarmed from a HR standpoint if anybody submitted like a long ranting manifesto about an issue that was quasi political and like pushed back on a lot of things that were irrelevant to their job. That was my take on it. It's like, oh god, this guy like really went overboard and maybe he needed to take a break from work.
what? But as far as I recall, this is years ago. I don't think he
Yeah.
said anything like hateful in it. He's not like, oh, we shouldn't hire women or he,
Hmm.
anything like that.
Yeah.
I think the spiciest thing was that he said that women
Why
were
why did
more.
he lose his job?
I don't remember exactly what the full process was. I should have looked into this before interviewing you probably. I didn't plan on bringing it up though.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But I
don't
think the
remember
spiciest thing
exactly what he said. Yeah.
I remember there being a pretty spicy take about how on average that women tend towards more neuroticism. And so we should like take that into account when we try and create workspaces and stuff. Like it was like aimed at like improving the workplace culture still,
I see.
but in a way
So
that
he was
HR
calling
wasn't.
for like discrimination in hiring?
Well, I don't think he would have seen it that way. I think he was. Again, I don't want to put words in his mouth. This was years ago,
Right. Okay. Okay.
but
Yeah. Maybe we shouldn't talk about this because neither of us seem
yeah,
to really
yeah, maybe.
know what it
But I do
was.
remember this was a high-profile example of somebody
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
who did offer
No.
feedback and then ended up getting fired for it.
Right.
And I know that
Yeah.
I know some of my more conservative-leaning friends. They are very skeptical of the DEI stuff in real life, and so they don't engage with it when their like
Hmm.
workplace brings this stuff up. So
Okay.
how is this supposed atmosphere of fear about this word? Is that is that unjust?
The word of
DEI,
DEI.
yeah.
Um, I I don't have fears, or I don't. I have not encountered any fear around the issue. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Like, what's the context of the fear? Who is expressing fear?
Okay. Well, I guess it's more that it seems like over the past decade, especially, a lot of people hold the
Hmm.
view. I'm not even sure I hold this view. I think actually the Overton window might be the opening up in a lot of ways. I mean, this
Hmm.
conversation is sort of an example of people who have different views on this topic engaging in good faith, hopefully. So it's great. Um,
Yeah, I'm happy
But
to talk about whatever. Yeah.
I guess like personally, it's
Hmm.
just more that like it seems like there's answers that some people want, and I don't know how widespread this is, but there's answers that people want, and if you give the wrong answers, then you gotta get marked for deletion, or you're considered a bigot. And some people are bigoted, and like that should be criticized for sure. But I think when it comes to expressing like viewpoints about a wider range of topics, like the
Hmm.
GamerGate stuff is one example.
Uh-huh.
If you don't have certain views on this, people sometimes come after you, like Alan Harris, who I've interviewed. People tried to call him and get him fired. Silverwolf CC, she because she was pro GamerGate, she switched
Hmm.
sides from being anti to pro. She actually lost a volunteer position in real life that she said because of her viewpoints.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would say that like the internet these days, it's kind of forever, right? Whatever you say will be out there. And I think people should be a little careful about what they say publicly, generally. So I guess I'm not surprised that there have been repercussions on for people on either side of any conversation and being held accountable to things they've said in the past that maybe were taken out of context or didn't mean.
Well, speaking of such incidents,
Yeah.
you made a video in September of 2023. You
Hmm.
said that you wanted to. You said that you noticed that there were only two women in the group, and there were what was
There's
it,
seven.
seven Johns?
Seven. Yeah.
Oh,
At the
sorry,
time we
seven.
had at the time we had nine Johns in the organization and only seven women. So it was just it's striking how many more of a certain demographic we had than we had women.
So you saw this as an issue. You wanted to bring more women into Gumbo, essentially.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I especially wanted to bring more women to my Women in Games group, which is sort of my impetus for making that video. Is I had just started up the Women in Games group, and it was kind of like a social group for women to get together, and the groups were being hosted mostly at Gumbo. And I wanted to send out the survey to be like, hey, what's keeping you from coming into this space? Is it too far? Like some of the people were coming down from Westchester, which is very far. They had to take the actual train, or is it too expensive? Or what was it? Do I have like too many people coming in so you feel uncomfortable? Do I have too few people so you feel like it's like awkward? What's the deal? So that was kind of the motivation behind sending out that poll.
Did you get any feedback or advice that you thought was good?
Yeah, the main feedback I got was that it's too expensive. Like $250 is probably not accessible for some people, especially if they're just getting started in the industry. So we like for us, 250 is kind of very cheap as far as co-working in New York City, but I understand that like, you know, if you're not getting paid right now or just out of school, that you still can't afford that. And that's not something that I can change. We still have to keep the lights on. So that one was unfortunate. Some of the other things like some of them wanted more career focused events rather than just like socializing, making art or whatever. And that's something that we could do. So I did hold a couple events that were more focused on like resume review, portfolio review, job search things.
And so you're a woman working in the game dev industry. You're trying to get more
Mm-hmm.
women into it.
Mm-hmm.
What have you found to be effective at this? Because I know that obviously a lot of companies are trying to bring more women in, a lot of universities are trying to promote diversity. What exactly would you say like the good ways to, if you have people who are interested in game development but are on the fence about it, how do you convince those people who are women, or how do you market the industry to them essentially to in a way that'll make it seem appealing?
Well, this is this is a tough one because actually when I go and give talks and stuff, I generally say don't get into game development. It is a fucking brutal industry. You don't get paid very well. You get exploited very heavily, especially early career, and you really have to be kind of crazy to be in the games industry, honestly. And so I don't encourage women or anyone to really get into games unless they're really fucking serious about it, or they already have something that's viable. And then I'm like, okay, I can introduce you to this person who might be able to help you fund it or help you play test it or help you get it out there. But as a general rule, it's rough. I don't advise people to come into games.
So Kabrutus recently called you out. He's the person who runs the Sweet Baby Detective Steam group. Actually, I
Mm-hmm.
can screen share
Was
his.
he the one who started the list, like the Steam
Yes, yeah, that's him.
curation list? Okay, okay. And then there's another one named like Grum.
Oh, Mark Kern. He's a former World of Warcraft developer.
Okay, and that person
I don't.
is also involved.
No, he's not. He's not. Well,
Okay.
unless Kabrutus hired him, because Kabrutus just hired some people like the PR person I told you about. but
Oh.
uh, but as far as I'm aware, he doesn't work for Kabrutus. He's just sort of an independent person who has his own opinions, but I probably
Mm-hmm.
agrees with Kabrutus on a lot of stuff. It seems
Mm-hmm.
so far.
Got it. Okay.
So he tweets out, and I'll screen share for you too if you want in the Discord.
Yeah.
He quote tweets your September tweet, and he says, "This is Ilanthus G, which is you, the
Yeah.
community manager, yes, another one, of a game that is in the Sweet Baby Ink Detected curator page. It is called Hyper Light Breaker. According to her, this collective that she helps run it said she's helped running, called Gumbo, needs more diversity because there's not enough women in there. Then again, according to her, the solution is to start hiring based on sex now. I mean, that's my perception of what she said, as if hiring based on sex had anything to do with making a good, great game. Ask the Ubi Star Wars team if that works. Ha ha." And he pinned this tweet on his page for a few days at least.
Yeah. It was an honor. It was really good. That was so validating, I would say. But anyway, yes. What is your question?
Okay, so your response is that it's validating to get called out by him, essentially.
Well, yeah, I mean, part of the reason I made that TikTok video was to get input and feedback. And I mean, that was a lot of feedback, right? I think he was a little confused and conflating Heart Machine with Gumbo and Women in Games with Heart Machine and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I like it's nice to be acknowledged.
So is this your encounter with someone who's more, I guess, on the quote unquote anti SJW community like that?
Um, I Yes, it was an encounter.
Do you personally?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. I'm not sure what the question was.
Oh, like so was this like one of your first times encountering like somebody like this who was like calling you out specifically because of diversity or because of woke quote unquote ideology or whatever it is they think or
Um, I think so. This is like the first like big public one. Obviously, like I don't know. I go on dates and stuff, and sometimes people are like, "You're too liberal," and I'm like, "All right, no second date, I guess." But yeah, as far as like a public thing, sure.
Okay. And you said, what has been the reaction to this tweet? I know that you published your own response to it. Do you want to tell us what you thought at the time, and then also how people on Twitter and I guess other social media took it?
Yeah, so I saw it and I decided to quote retweet it because I wanted to clarify things for my community. That Gumbo doesn't do any hiring. We we explicitly do the opposite. We want people to pay to come in, and I think that was the gist of what I really wanted to clarify. Is like we don't hire, we never have, and we don't make games. Like the people who are members of Gumbo make games themselves, but Gumbo itself has never made a game and never will.
All right. Oh, hang on. We might have camera issue. Nope. There we go. It's fixed. Cool. All right. All right. Cool. So, have you gotten a lot of support actually, or critique because of this?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of support. It was surprising how like I got new followers. Gumbo got new followers. And Gumbo recently launched a Patreon, and as a result of this and it blowing up a little bit, we actually got a lot more Patreon subscribers, which is pretty cool. I think people just maybe are not keen to publicly say things, but will silently fund a side that they believe is in the right. So that's been interesting.
Do you think that because not to get too focused on individuals, but because you got critiqued so heavily by a public figure, and kind of unfairly, I think unfairly, do you think that because of this, people are afraid to speak out if they agree with you more?
Maybe, or maybe they just don't care. Because honestly, I think it was a overall just a miscommunication. And so people don't feel that strongly about it because I already corrected the mistake. And I think there were people also in Kabrutus's comment thread that also corrected the mistake. So I don't think like there was any hot take to make there. It was just a clarification.
Okay. And did he reach out to you at all, or try to apologize, or get a clarification on your opinion in DMs or email or
Mm-mm.
anything?
Not that I know of. I did open up my Twitter DMs after you pointed out that I had them locked.
Okay. And so, did the media talk to you at all, or like, did any journalists or YouTubers reach out? I guess other than me. Did,
Mm-mm. No, again, I think it was kind of a non-issue. I did reach out to a friend of mine who is a journalist just because he was involved in covering some Gamergate stuff. Just to be like, can you believe this? And he's like, yeah, I thought I would just check in on you, see how you're doing. But no, nobody has reached out for comment.
oh, I have to ask. Are you okay sharing who your journalist friend who covered Gamergate was? I probably emailed them at some point.
Oh, his name is Gio. He does digital trends.
Oh, okay. Maybe I haven't reached out to them. I don't know. I've reached out to so many people that I don't know the name
Yeah.
of everybody at this point.
Yeah, but it was not for like the story or anything. He's just a personal friend, and we were just chatting.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll ask too because I didn't have a huge question list. I kind of wanted to keep it casual, if that's cool.
Yeah.
But so if he's willing to talk to you now and say like, because he's obviously his big initiative, right, is that he's going to relaunch a website where he keeps track of all these DEI
Mm,
initiatives in games that he doesn't like,
mm-hmm.
including the Sweet Baby
Mm-hmm.
Inc. company, but others as well. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, you have a very different perspective. Um, would you be open to having that conversation with him if he reaches out, or if you reach out to him and he replies and seems interested?
Sure. Though I don't know that much about this whole Gamergate situation. I know that like Sweet Baby, we like Hyper Light Breaker is on the Sweet Baby hit list or whatever it is, but I don't know very much about Gamergate, so my input would be limited. But I'm always happy to talk.
Okay. Yeah, this. Unfortunately, now there's a second GamerGate, quote unquote. So, and this one's a bit different from the first. So, uh,
Wait, there's an like yet another one after Sweet Baby, or
well, no,
you mean
this
Sweet Baby is the second? This is
Sweet
the
Baby is
second
the second. Yeah.
one.
Well,
Okay,
people
okay,
call it. Some people call it that. Some people disagree, and they don't think it should be called that. It's a there's a debate. Um,
okay.
so no one's really sure just yet on what to call it. But yeah, so I don't know. I thought I saw you getting attacked, and you seem cool, and you don't seem like
Oh, thank you.
the
Yeah,
enemy. So, and I don't think viewing things in that term, those terms of
I
having
don't think
enemies
so
is
at
the
all. I mean, I don't think
right approach.
Kabrutus is an enemy either. He I think got confused and decided to say something, and he clearly stands for a particular perspective that he really really believes in. And I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm also someone who has convictions, so I respect him on that level, even if I think he made a mistake.
Where do you think the big issues are with the people who are so critical of this stuff? Like, what are they getting wrong? What do you see that they don't?
With the DEI stuff, you
Yeah,
mean?
with the DEI stuff, especially in the gaming industry. Like, what would be your
Oh,
message to somebody who thinks it's kind of malicious, or they think that these people probably don't improve the games, these woke consultants or whatever you want to call them, right?
I think the main thing they get wrong is that like we as companies know, like I'm speaking on for Heart Machine now, we as companies know that hiring based on certain characteristics is illegal. Like we would never hire just based on race or sex or sexual orientation because that's we hire the best people for the job and always have and always will. So I think the people who are conflating hiring practices with representation in games have it wrong. Like we want to represent diverse casts of character because that just makes the story more interesting potentially, but that has nothing to do with internal hiring.
And so the DEI stuff in particular,
Mm-hmm.
can you talk about the kind of work that Sweet Baby did, or is that I don't know how public you're allowed to be?
Um, I can't be super public because a lot of our stuff is like still under development and under NDA. But what I can say is we worked with Sweet Baby like very early on in the development of Hyperlight Breaker, and we like I know that they do some DEI services, but our game is not one that has humans in it. So the amount of DEI work that could be done was not existent because we don't have humans. And since then, we have switched to narrative being in-house. This was over a year ago. And we've also moved to wordless storytelling. So it's now wordless storytelling of non-human characters in a fantasy world. So I don't see how I could even comment on DEI being a part of this game because I think it's irrelevant.
Do you you say you're an immigrant? Do you want to talk about where you're from?
Yeah, I'm from China. I was born in Shanghai, and I moved to the U.S. when I was 5.
Oh, ni hao ma.
Uh,
I only know a tiny amount. I tried
okay.
learning when I was younger, but and most of that I've either forgotten or I never got very far in my studies with that anyway. It was a side
Yeah.
project for fun.
Okay, that's
I
cool.
worked in an industry with a lot of Chinese people, so I thought it would be useful to learn a language, but I'm not in that industry anymore. So,
Yeah, it's a pretty useful language depending on like what kind of line of work you're in.
so you also help immigrants too, and with is
Hmm.
you're because you're a lawyer. Are you a citizen now?
Yeah, I naturalized before I was 18 because it's I just got it through my parents.
Okay. So what made you want to actually be like a real life a real life person who helps asylum seekers and is a lawyer for immigrants?
Um, well, as an immigrant myself, I think I and my family navigated the very convoluted, very slow process that is anything to do with immigration in the United States. Like the it's just like the whole system is pretty archaic and very slow and like just head to toe very hard to navigate with the number of forms that you have to fill out and like the dependencies and the contingencies and all of that stuff. So it was a very complicated process for my family, and I wanted to help people navigate that so that they could also gain status in the US.
Cool. Well, hey, that's my the questions I wanted to go over. That
Cool.
anything else you want to talk about, or what's going on in your world?
What's going on in my world is that we are launching Hyperlight Breaker in early access this summer. So that's my plug, and please play the game.
And will people find that? What systems? What websites?
So we're early access on Steam only, and if it's successful, then maybe down the line, consoles.
Cool. And what kind of game is it? And is it
Oh
multiplayer,
boy,
single player? What's
it is. It is every buzzword under the sky. It is an online roguelite multiplayer procedurally generated open world game. I think I hit all of them.
rogue like where it's like going into like the dungeons and then like every level you go down, it's completely different
No, it's sort of is rogue light, and it's not a dungeon crawler. It's like an open game that you play on the surface of the hyperlight world. And the way that it's roguelite is that like um, each instance of the game is sorry, the world gets generated once and you play through the game. If you die, then you have to start over. In that way, it's a roguelite.
Okay. Were there any games that like inspired you growing up, or any game developers that you were inspired by when you were a kid?
Mm, my favorite game, like old game, was Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, which is also a roguelike game. It's one of those like ASCII games with absolutely no graphics and just um, typing in things and using hotkeys to navigate through a dungeon crawl. That was a really good game. Um, yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of really good games in my past. I really like the Worms games; those are great. I liked Gladiator. Um, God, there's so many. There's so many. Uh,
Do you think we're gonna see more like a resurgence of like these sort of text adventure games, or these like where it's all text, or like multi-user dungeons? If you've played those.
I think not really. I think currently the games industry is trending more toward like juiciness. I think because the industry is kind of in a period of contraction, we're not going to see too many like big AAA titles, but the like triple I category, double A category of games will be rising. So these are like the tried and true studios that have put out something in the past and are aiming for something that's triple A quality, but not quite at the triple A budget or size. So I don't think we're going to see too many very popular small games. I know, like, Stardew Valley was a standout, but overall, I think more along the like $20 to $40 price range type game.
Are you a fan of Scott Pilgrim?
Scott Pilgrim like saves the world, that movie back in the
Yeah,
day.
I just watched. I saw the movie like 2 weeks ago, and then I just watched the show that
I
just came out.
I don't. Oh, I didn't realize it was a show. I liked the movie, but that was like 15 years ago. No,
Yeah, yeah. The
I
show
I
actually I think
cannot
is.
comment on that. I think I liked it. I was actually just talking to a friend about movies, and my favorite movie is Inglorious Bastards. If we're going to talk about movies,
No, that's a good pick.
it's so good. It's like it's just everything I want in a movie. There's like violence, and there's revenge, and killing Nazis, and there's blood and hilarity.
That scene is still pretty terrifying though. The with the milk in the beginning with the
Yeah,
Nazi
the
who
the
walks into the.
milk in the beginning, and then the bat smashing.
Oh yeah.
Perfect movie. Perfect movie. No notes.
Do
Really
you like
good.
other Tarantino films?
I don't really know his work. I don't really know a lot about movies. I know and I like violence and action, but I don't differentiate between directors.
Okay. Well, hey, anything else you want to talk about? I can
No,
go as
I
late
think
as you
that's
want or
good.
as short. I don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah. Well, I wanna hear more about you and like Gamergate and book writing. Are you working on another book now?
Yeah, so well, GamerGate, I still don't know what it is.
Sure.
I which is kind of funny to say since I've spent like I've dedicated probably like at this point like 8 years of my life to it. But uh, basically TLDR, there was a controversy in the industry in 2014, August 2014. Um, an indie game developer and a games journalist uh, had an affair. Basically, well, okay, let me lay it out. Okay, so uh, Aaron Joni writes this blog post. He does some work in the games industry, but he was a programmer mostly at the time, and he writes this blog post about how his girlfriend cheated on him with 5 people, and he names 3 of the people, but not 2 others. Then this people ask questions about this because one of the people he names is a games journalist who works at Kotaku and worked for Rock Paper Shotgun. He wrote positively of her game and promoted it over 40 49 other games on this list of 50 games that came out on Steam Greenlight back when that was a
Okay.
thing. That was one of the conflicts of interest he had. He had another one too where he reported on the Polaris Game Jam story without disclosing their relationship. But he also had other possible conflict of interest with Robin or not. That one's not proven. This looks kind of suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were a couple other controversies that dropped at the same time. Some people were kind of dicks on the internet to Zoe Quinn. They
Shocker.
made jokes and stuff about her.
I'm stunned. Was this like 4chan or something?
Some of the people were for 4chan, yeah, but it was
Yeah,
also
yeah.
discussed on like Reddit and Something Awful and
Okay.
like other places too. And
Something
this IRC
awful.
chat room too called Burgers and Fries.
Okay.
Well, other IRC channels probably
So
too
really this
eventually,
blew
but
up because of conflict of interest and people were indignant about that, like
well,
the
that depends on
ethics.
who you ask. The
Okay.
pro it's sort of broke into like two major camps,
Mm-hmm.
but like some of the people in the camps don't even think that they're in a camp. It's kind of a clusterfuck. But on one side, people say that yeah, it's about ethics, it's about corruption. We want to see reforms in the games industry, and then other people say that no, it's about sexism and harassment, and so I'm investigating what all really happened. I was
Mm-hmm.
involved at the time on the more ethics side, I guess, but I
Okay.
personally was more motivated by artistic freedom because that became a massive part of the controversy later on, and I joined in 2015. It's a but today I'm trying to find out what the hell actually happened. Um,
Right.
I tried to approach it from a more neutral perspective, I guess, but obviously I have
Mm-hmm.
my biases. But I've tried to interview a huge number of people on both sides of the controversy and people involved in various capacities, including neutral people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working on that. And I've got anyway. Any questions about like but the game the thing that made this blow up so big, I think, really, and I think most of the people I interview agree with this, is that this would have blown over in like 2 weeks. But for
Mm-hmm.
some reason, several gaming sites decided to write these articles that some people now call the quote unquote gamers are dead articles. And they were saying, like, people, like Leigh Alexander's article was using a lot of inflammatory language, kind of calling for the end of the gamer identity. We can just read it if you want. But that
Uh,
I can link it to you.
I mean, yeah, yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to read it, but
And
I
then
am
like Devin Wilson
curious
too
about
has had
this
it.
piece of game history. What I want to know is like, what is your hot take on the whole thing? Like you say that you care more about the ethics issue. What is the ethics issue, and what do you believe is
Well, like the ethics issue, like the specifics involving like Nathan Grayson are kind of boring, but we can talk about that if you want. I think he should have added disclosure to his articles.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
That's basically it.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Just disclose that
I
you're a
am in full
close.
disagreement with, I mean, full agreement with disclosing your conflict of interest in anything. Really,
And
that
I
makes
think
sense.
that these websites they should have been a little bit more, and some of them were, and some of them weren't. But they should have been a bit more responsive and been like, hey, look, yeah, we made some mistakes. We're here to create an ethics policy, and some of them did to
Mm-hmm.
try and set rules for what we expect of our journalists moving forward. Certain like
Okay.
ethical guidelines, when to disclose, when not to disclose, when to recuse yourself, like basic stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that unfortunately a lot of the gaming sites um, didn't really seem to care that much about that being ethical. And so I feel personally, my personal view is that a
Mm-hmm.
huge number of people kind of got pushed outside the Overton window um, of acceptable like discourse in society,
Mm-hmm.
and were kind of smeared as being misogynist harassers because of like a small number of people who did go too far,
Mm.
and that and that unfortunately because of that, and because some people may have told deliberate lies to the press, that basically that community got smeared, but they still kept going for several years. And there was like an ongoing like debate between these two sides, but it wasn't a debate where they talked to each other. It was just a debate where they kind of yelled in their echo chambers. But that's I think large part because
Oh
um,
yeah, no, that's been happening. That's happened in our Steam forum for Hyperlight Breaker. If you wanted to take it later, I have this like very long thread of people debating both sides of the issue, and it's very entertaining.
oh,
It's
of
like
the
it
Sweet
can become a
Baby issue.
whole. Yeah. It's like a whole flame war that I had to like kind of condense into the same thread because they're all saying the same thing over and over again. I was like, just talk to each other. It's fine. It's good. I never want to ban anyone or like silence anyone, but I do want to kind of keep things together if they're all gonna have the same discussion anyway. So yeah,
Have
highly
you?
recommend taking a look at that.
Yeah, if you could link me that, or I could just literally just Google Hyperlight Breaker Steam forums.
Yeah. It's like in their Steam discussion. Hold on. But yeah, I mean, do you think there is even a way to neutrally report on things? Because I think all journalists have their own biases. I mean, even you said you're writing a book, you have your own leanings, right?
Yeah, I don't
So,
know about. It's something I'm struggling with. I don't know. I don't know if journalism is like a hot, like a quote unquote like profession, like you're a title. You can call yourself a journalist. It's more like an
mm-hmm,
action people perform. Now I personally, I view it, I guess, more as you don't have to be neutral. I don't know, like you said, I'm not sure if like pure neutrality is possible, but I
right,
try
you
to
just
be
have to
fair.
disclose. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to be fair. I disclose my
Mm-hmm.
biases. I also try to overcome them too. Like throughout this project, I've sought feedback from a ton of people from the other side. Um, I tried to include their voices to the best of my ability, but most of those people don't talk to me.
Interesting. Why won't they talk to you?
Well, you have to ask them, I guess. But
But
I
what do you think? Why do you think they don't talk to you?
because I'm like a bomb thrower, right? I'm like no, obviously not. I think it's because they have their idea about what GamerGate is and was, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to hear out opposing views, which is fine. They
Mm,
don't have to, but I think that they probably should be more open to having discussions. And I also think that like some of the people involved kind of know it wasn't true. Like the the claims that were made, some of the claims that were made weren't true, and so they themselves have some egg on their face. But I think they should just like everyone should just be honest and move forward. That's my personal preference. But some people are so bad on both sides, like Ethan Ralph and like Zoe Quinn, where I don't know if they can be
mm,
like reformed. I think they should just like fuck off and do their own thing and not hurt other people.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I definitely 100% agree with you that if civil discourse is possible, regardless of what you disagree on, you should keep those channels of communication open. Where it gets to be too far and where you do have to be silenced is if you start like actually threatening people's safety or lives or like innocent people. But yeah, I'm always down to have a conversation. I think I would encourage everyone on both sides to talk. Like I work doing immigration advocacy work and it is a very polarizing issue, but I would never not talk to someone who disagreed with me because you want to know what people are saying. You want to know how to respond to what they're doing rather than like, bury your head in the sand and only go your own way.
No, I agree 1,000%.
Yeah.
But I also it's so weird too because like different conversations have different like the different reasons you're going into them. Like this
Mm-hmm.
conversation, um, I just basically wanted to talk with you because and I wanted to give you a chance to tell your story because I thought that what happened was bullshit and I think you seem cool. But like other conversations, usually for like a book interview, I'll
Mm-hmm.
try and like do research ahead of time, so, depending on the guest. Sometimes it's like not as necessary. Plus, I know some of these people from back then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have a huge like level of knowledge about the GG stuff specifically that I don't feel like I could get like. Plus, if I get cornered on something and maybe I'm wrong on it, and it's good that they call me
Yeah.
out. But um, but yeah, it depends on the conversation. Like I also do debates too. Um,
So
like
you mentioned that you like are a bomb thrower sometimes. So do you sometimes interview people with a specific agenda and want to like trip them up or do a
only if I
gotcha
think they're
on them?
actively malicious to the world.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but
I'm
so
very curious. Like
limited number of
after this,
people.
send me a one where you've actually like gotten someone. I'm very curious what that looks like.
I haven't yet because those people won't talk to me. But
Oh, okay.
like if I
Okay.
was interviewing, like I planned on going hard at Ian Miles Chung. Do you know him?
Mm-mm. Let me
So
Google.
he was one of the oh boy, you're in for a whole treat. Look him up on Encyclopedia Dramatica. Uh
Wait, is he talking about Taylor Swift?
Well, he talks about a lot of things. He has a great many opinions about American politics, even though he lives in Malaysia and takes
Okay.
money from the Russian government.
Hilarious. Okay.
Anyway, because like he's a propagandist for the Russian government, the kind of interview I'm going to have with him is going to be quite different than the kind of interview that I would have with, well, you or anybody else, basically, a normal person.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like I do view him as like an actively malicious force in the world. And he backed
Mm.
out of the interview once he found out I was gonna be tough. Because I was upfront with him. I'm like, yeah, look, I'm gonna ask some tough questions. And he's like, he ghosted
Mm.
me. And then I also got ghosted by Asia Romano of Vox. Also, probably because she realized I was gonna be tough too. Because
Mm.
she's written a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like, well, hey, I've gone through your article and I've made a lot of notes about what I think are some things we can go over where we disagree. And she she was not interested in doing that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, who was your dream interview if you could get anyone?
Um,
And like they have to be there for an hour and not allowed to sign off.
I don't know. I mean, Zoe Quinn would be interesting just because I
Okay.
that would be an interesting 1 hour discussion, um,
Hmm.
for sure. But like I don't. I mean, like, what am I gonna? Because I got so much information on her.
Yeah.
And I don't think. Oh, actually, Anita Sarkeesian, I think would be like the because I think her and I talking for like an hour would actually be like it could be an interesting discussion. It wouldn't be a productive discussion, I don't think, unless you approached it in good faith. But that would be
Hmm.
really, really interesting. Everyone else, I feel like I've basically kind of either already have them or because I've
Mm.
interviewed like close to like 70 or 80 people probably at this point.
Wow. Okay.
So all the people who I wanted to interview either already agreed. There were a couple people who I wanted to interview but didn't, like Mark Seb. He's Action Points, if you know him. He's a streamer, but he declined. Or Mombot would be a great one too. She's a Japanese, or she lives in Japan, but she's a GamerGate
Mm.
supporter. She'd be an interesting one to get, but she's not really active on
Interesting.
social media anymore.
Cool. This is a whole part of the games industry that I am not aware of. I think we're kind of just busy like making a game and hoping to make money with the game to like worry about the drama around the game.
Honestly, you're probably lucky.
Yeah.
I am actually
Which is
talking
funny
with.
because the people in these Steam forums are like, why can't they just focus on making a game? Like, I am focusing on making a game. That's why I'm not responding to this.
I think it's great you've taken the more like hands-off approach though, because I know during the quote unquote first GamerGate, um,
Mhm.
a lot of places decided, nah, fuck it, we're just gonna censor all discussion. And I think that helped to blow up and Streisand it to like this huge negative thing.
I
So I think
see.
having the discussion be there, um, and obviously if people are like making threats or something, obviously get rid of that or docs, right? But
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm absolutely anti like inciting language, but I'm very pro freedom of speech. So I read every single comment that people write in the forums. It's just most of them don't amount to something that I need to remove. Like I said, there are a couple ones where people were directly attacking someone and like threatening physical harm, and that can't stand. But otherwise, have at it. Structured debate.
so you take this free speech approach. A lot of people disagree. A lot of people believe like deplatforming people, things like that.
Mm.
Are you like a quote unquote like free speech absolutist, or like how do you view the topic?
Mm, I view the topic as someone whose family sacrificed a lot to right here, where there is freedom of speech. I'm from China, where that doesn't exist. It's very scary, and so I like to yeah, I like to stand for that as a fundamental principle, especially online. Like, it's easy to speak out online, and it's also very easy to ignore the things that you don't agree with.
I actually am in talks with this group, this conference called Alt F4. I doubt you've heard of it. It's kind of niche, but it's a gaming
Mm,
conference in theory. They're hosting this. It's supposed to be on for the 10-year anniversary of the GamerGate stuff.
okay.
But they only have like one side presented, and so I've emailed them and trying to convince them to add other perspectives and hear out a variety of viewpoints. Initially, they seemed reluctant to do this, but I'm hoping that with my follow-up email and a few other people reached out to them too that they're willing to. Um, I don't know. That's something that's happening, and
Yeah, I mean, I think echo chambers on either side harm both sides because then you're just talking to the same people. That's part of why I want to bring more women into, because like it's a sausage fest. Who goes to a party and like it's all men? It's not as fun, you know.
exactly. Bring more women in. I'm 1,000% for that.
Bring
Uh,
more like whatever people in.
yeah,
Yeah,
people who are interesting and want to play games or make
yeah,
games. You know.
right. Yeah.
So now I need to decide. I'm because I've realized that I've been kind of burning the candle at both ends because I've been like working on this Gigi's book for like 6 months without without really any much break, like, maybe like a one or
Mm-hmm.
2 days here and there. So I'm actually gonna take my first break because I'm actually well I'm planning. I've been planning. This is the first announcement of this, I guess, but it's just I'm possibly doing like a crowdfunding event. Have you have any
Okay.
experience in that area?
Yeah, yeah. I've done like Kickstarters successfully. I have advised on funding things. It's I mean, these days Kickstarter is kind of a marketing play more than anything. Kind of want to make sure that you have another additional source of revenue or funding and just use it to like kickstart it, um, or like get it across the finish line. I don't think crowdfunding by itself really successfully funds projects these days.
Oh, why is that?
There's just like general skepticism and fatigue with the format. Like unless it's for a physical product that says it will ship and you will get the thing, something that's like a project that's way down the line that like may or may not happen, people are just tired of it.
That makes
Like
sense.
I
There'll be a
don't
lot of
support Kickstarters anymore.
I might try to convince you to support mine. I think I've already tried to convince you actually.
Oh, I mean, you sent me the pitch, and I'm like
Yeah.
happy to talk about it at some point. If you're taking a break, actually, you should vacation to New York, hang
Well,
out.
I I would love to. That'd be awesome actually. But
Yeah, and like meet some of the Gumbo people.
I'm
That
I'm
game.
still working my full-time job. I'm just not doing the GamerGate stuff on top of it for like a week or at least
I
like
see.
five or
I
six
see.
days.
I see. I see. Okay.
Yeah, because well, so one thing I'm doing with like the thing is data collection too. So there
Mm-hmm.
was a study done on GamerGate people back in 2015, 2016. So I'm asking some of the questions that they asked too to like test their, well, one, test my sample compared to theirs basically. Um,
Okay.
but then I'm also asking them a bunch of other questions too, like what they think of various characters. Um, well, obviously that can give you information about other things too, like whether they have positive sentiment or negative sentiment on a scale from 1 to 10 on like a huge array of characters, male characters, female characters, trans
Mm-hmm.
characters, um, also real life people too. It's a big, like, several hundred question optional survey that I sent to all the people I've interviewed. And then I'm also doing a second data collation too, where I'm taking the
Mm-hmm.
things that they say in the interviews. I'm trying to use my good faith interpretation of that to like find out what the various people involved in Gamergate on both sides and on neutral people, what they think about a huge array of topics. Because I've got three different batteries of questions that I ask people in the interviews, depending on
Okay.
which side they're on.
So I'm going to get a survey after this.
No, no, because this isn't a
Oh,
book
okay.
interview. This is just us chilling
Got it.
out.
Got it. Okay.
Unless
I
you,
see. For
well,
your book interview.
yeah,
Okay.
you weren't really involved with
Uh,
Gamergate, so
no.
so like
I
no
thought you were
offense.
sending it to like everyone you've ever to
No,
like
no, only
this
for the books.
data
Yeah.
collection project. Got it. Okay. What are you gonna do with the data? Like
I'm gonna
pie
publish it
charts?
in the yeah pie charts and other well
Okay.
some other charts too probably since some of them might not work with pies as well. Or at least that's not the default that Google Forms shows you. So,
Mm.
but mostly pie charts, I think, for a lot of the
What will
questions.
some of the charts be?
So, um, I maybe I shouldn't show it because if the link gets, actually, you know what? Screw it. Um, I'll just go ahead and create a
I'm
duplicate.
just thinking, like back in the day, OkCupid put out this like study about demographics and dating, and it was very interesting around like sex lines and like country of origin or ethnicity. And that was a very cool study that they did with the tremendous amount of data that they collected. I
What
would
did
love
they?
to see something like that. It was
What,
it was like the main takeaway was that like certain groups are the most or least desirable to date. So I think Black women were the least desirable to date, and Asian men, and white men are the most desirable to date. And I think it was a toss up between white women and Asian women. That was the main thing that I remember. But I think there were also age things. I don't know if there was a sexual orientation one. Yeah, I'll have to find it. But it was a very fun article. My friends and I poured over it back in the day.
Huh.
So I'd like to see something like that done
Well, you're gonna
with
see.
games. Like what kind of protagonist and how jiggly boobs are most appealing in a video game. You
So
know what
I'll
I mean?
show you what
Mm.
I can't show you the data yet because the data collection is still going for the optional
Yeah,
survey
yeah,
until
yeah.
the 30th. But I'll
No, I'm
show
more
you
just
the
interested in
questions.
like what the questions are.
All right, I'll link you this as well. This is just a copy of one. It's not an active link. Or well, I guess people
Mm-hmm.
could fill it out in theory, but I'm not gonna do anything with it. So they just be yelling into the void. I'll screen share it as well
Okay.
on Discord.
Why can I not open? I'll have to be signed in.
Oh yeah, I can turn that off since this is a test one.
That's okay. Okay, I'll just be signed into the thing.
Okay. Let me know when you're in.
I am in.
So GamerGate optional survey. This is all three of the optional ones are the same for pro, anti, and neutral. I just use separate forms because to keep their data separate.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what is
Okay, so these are just like demographic
so the first
blah.
pages? Well, so
Yeah, yeah,
mostly
yeah.
that. Some of it's like related to like what websites they used during GamerGate.
Oh, but then
To
I can't see the rest of the pages. That yeah.
all questions are optional though. So, oh, you have to hit record, I guess technically, but
Oh,
the
okay.
record email.
Then next.
And then
Okay.
there's gaming
Let me
gaming
play video
demographics.
games. Okay. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Makes sense. I'm very interested in this.
Stop me when you see one that sounds interesting. We can talk about it.
Oh, I'm opposed to female characters in games. I'm opposed to white characters in games. I'm opposed to gay, lesbian, or bi characters in games. Hmm. And then there's important that the character play looks like the
I kind
character
of so
player
I'm a
play.
perfectionist, so I
Yeah.
knew I spent days working on this, and I knew that if
Yeah.
I so I'm like I'm just gonna fucking send it out. So there's a couple typos and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm just like if I spend any more time on this, I'm gonna go crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll never release it.
Hmm. Empathize. Let's see. Do you have a question about whether people care about empathizing with characters in games?
No, I
Because I
don't.
think that's the main piece of feedback I've gotten from, or not feedback, like common thread between a lot of people who have spoken out about SBI in our forums is like, I don't care about empathizing with the story or whatever. I just want to play a good game, which is a very valid position to take.
Yeah, it
Some
probably
people
depends on
really
the
just care
person.
about like gameplay and mechanics and not give a crap about story. And if a story's like shoved down their throat, then they object to it.
I think it probably depends very much on the person because like I do care, but it depends on the kind of game, right? Like if it's like a first person shooter and I just want to blow stuff up with my friends, that's different than
Mm-hmm.
like if I'm trying to play like a story rich game.
Makes sense.
But that's me personally. I mean I would care about I don't know about empathizing. I would care that they're well written and I guess like the empathy comes with that naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh hey, your friend's on one of these
So you
pages.
do care.
I
So
do
you do
care. I do
care.
care. Yeah. I want there to be good characters.
Well, you do care about you do care that characters be well written. So do you care that they are like, I don't know, demographically accurately written? I think that's part of what Baby does, right? Not for like a game like ours, but for a game where there's like a Native American character, they come in and advise on like this what
I
their
personally would care, but
headdress should look like. Yeah.
I don't know if these specific people would be a good do a good job of that.
I
Because
see.
like they call well because they're white Canadians
Right. So
and
maybe they don't
they call
the
themselves
like. Yeah.
white they call themselves white settlers like on their website. If you go on their website, they
Hmm.
refer to themselves as white settlers. I'm not even kidding. Um
Okay.
and so like I don't like if these people are writing like Native American characters, like I don't think that I think that those companies would be better off if they hired actual experts on Native American culture and history. And like I don't know,
Mm,
maybe even like went and talked with them for a while and talked to people who actually are, or even had people on their team who looked like that and were like that and had that background. I think they'd
right.
have a lot better, do a better job than if they just hired like these white Canadian people. But like obviously that's like Sweet Baby's one company, but um, I mean, that's my view. Like hire actual consultants who are like experts, not like we're going to come in and have this one size fits all DEI approach. And also the people, I think people, I said something the other day actually with Peter Coughlin. Do you know him?
Mm-mm.
Oh, he's a YouTuber. He recently changed his mind on GamerGate and wanted to talk to me. So,
Okay. Oh, the
uh,
blue hair person. Yes, I saw him on your one of your nails that you made.
he says that apparently he's actually it's not blue. He says he did dye his blue hair briefly, but in that picture it's gray. It's just it looks blue.
It
That's what he
looks
says.
extremely blue.
It
This
does
is
look
like
extremely
the
blue.
black and blue dress versus the white and gold dress.
Yeah, it looks blue
Uh,
to me as well.
it looks blue as heck. That is blue ass hair.
So I was talking with him and
Yeah.
we were talking about Quiet. And I'm like, well, I don't know if you know Quiet from Metal Gear Solid.
Hmm.
So I said I don't know if like Quiet's like the world's greatest representation of like women. And I paused myself. I'm like, well, what the fuck is like representation of women? Like that doesn't make any sense because
Hmm.
women are a diverse group of people who all disagree with each other and have different lifestyles and interests, and they don't all think the same. So like, what does it mean to like represent a female character well? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like a specific character you can represent. Generally presenting females, and that's not cool.
Anyway, that's yeah. I don't know what it means to make a good female character. I just want you to make a good character, and if that good character is a woman, then great. Um,
Hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I like this survey. I like what you are. I like the amount of data you are collecting.
yeah, some people didn't. Some people are opting out because it's too much. But that's
I mean,
totally
it's
fine.
very long. It is 21 pages. That is very long. But I'm
And this
someone who
is
really likes taking quizzes, so this does not seem super long to me. Oh, wait, now you're getting into politics. Interesting.
oh, yeah.
Ah,
There's
upcoming
a lot of
election. Right. Okay. I'm very interested in the parallels you're going to draw here also. Hmm. Wow, Roe v. Wade. You're really going after spicy topics.
except I fucked up the question. Someone pointed this out to me actually. Cuz like, well, which decision? The one that
Oh
reversed it or the
yeah.
one to pass? So I didn't actually make it clear in the question.
Well, no, I mean the answers are pretty clear. Life, pro-choice, whatever.
But what if they thought that they made well, but I guess on Roe v. Wade itself, yeah. But with the new case that
Yeah.
overturned Roe, they someone could mistakenly believe I'm referring to that. Or well,
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
meant
Yeah.
to refer to that actually,
I
but
thought. Yeah. My assumption is you meant the
yeah, I
recent
meant to
decision
refer to
that
that.
reversed it.
Yeah,
Uh, wow.
it's a lot of questions.
It is a lot of questions. Would you consider doing a truncated version for some people who don't want to do this whole gigantic thing?
No, I don't think so. I think my
Mm,
I've made up my mind. Plus, these are all people involved with GamerGate. So if like you dedicated 8 years of your life to this, or
that's
10 years
fair.
of your life
That's
to
fair.
this, I think you can spend 20 minutes to do the survey. If not, you could just not do it. That's fine.
Wait, there's a whole page about you
There is.
doing a good job. You're doing a good job. Uh, Yeah, this is very entertaining.
And then what they think of various articles too.
Hmm.
Here's the fictional characters. I guess you're in that section probably.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, that's the game I'm playing right now. Don't have time though.
What's the game?
Baldur's Gate. That's I'm like still in Act 2 of Baldur's Gate.
My uncle and I want to play that at some point. It's co-op, right?
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard everyone talks and says amazing things about it, so it looks fun.
It is very good. It is very large. Have you played like Divinity Original Sin or any of the older Baldur's
No, but I'm
Gates?
interviewing one of the developers of Divinity Original Sin. Matoa.
Oh, okay.
He was involved with GamerGate actually, so I'm
Okay.
interviewing him.
Interesting.
Not about the
He was at
game, but
Larian?
he was what?
He was at Larian?
Is that the name of the company? At least I
Yeah,
think was it?
Larian
I think it
Studios.
was Divinity Original Sin. Did I mix it up with something else? I have the thumbnail on my computer. I could just pull it up for
Yeah.
that video because we rescheduled. No, it's Kingdom Come Deliverance. I'm sorry, my bad.
Oh,
Different
okay.
game. Different game.
That's a long words. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, this is cool. I look forward to your book or your Kickstarter or whatever you end up doing with this.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'll probably ping you. Well, I might ask. I'll probably ping you throughout as I'm trying to learn more about how to do a successful crowdfunding campaign. Uh, if you have
Mhm.
any guidance for me.
Okay, so the main piece of guidance is you kind of have to be comfortable putting your face on camera and talking about the project that you want to get funding.
So not like right now.
Not like right now. You
Yeah.
kind of have to get a webcam or
No,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that, but I'm gonna make like a video. I've also been doing a lot of behind the scenes groundwork. I feel that that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been
Okay.
reaching out to a ton of people that I know in the political world, the people I've interviewed, people
Okay.
in the GamerGate world, even you, actually, some other people out in the gaming industry, to
Mm-hmm.
see if they'll endorse the project. I've got a lot of people willing to. I've also
Okay.
been trying to convince the people I've interviewed, and some other people too. The people who are willing to endorse the project, I'm asking them to make videos, short videos, testimonials about why they want the project to be successful. Um, if they're an interviewee, why they want their voice told for the
Mm-hmm.
project, for the
Okay.
book. And
Are you are you like public at all, like with your real life persona,
I'm
or do you try to
not.
keep it on the DL?
I'm super open about a lot of
Okay.
stuff, like, but
Uh-huh.
not work and not my family. Like those are like the only
Mm-hmm.
two areas I don't really talk about.
Okay.
Or my educational background, I guess too. So I'm like semi, but my real name's out there. Um,
Okay.
and I did publish a book in 2019.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just wondering if you're like only ever under a pseudonym with
I
like not your face out
I
anywhere.
have showed my face too, actually, on my doing a phone stream. Well, I joined someone else's show on my phone,
Okay.
um, and so my face was available there. And also during GamerGate, I ran the real life meetups and I did like a real life debate that was recorded. And
Mm-hmm.
I would go on. I would use. I had a laptop back then, so people have seen my face, just not recently, unless they saw that
Got it.
one time I was on someone else's show.
I see. Yeah. I'm public about everything. The goal is to make myself undoxable by being so like, yes, obviously you have this information on me. I put it out there.
Well, I want to make the with if the crowdfunding campaign is successful, I want that the whole point of it, I think, for me, not the whole point. I also want to raise money to get like Scrivener, the writing software, and a couple other things too. But that's small potatoes. The
Okay.
main thing is I want to turn this into my full-time job because right now it's a ton of work, and I've been at it for 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not making the progress I would have liked just doing it in in after work and then on weekends. Plus, I don't have a life, and it's kind of draining. I'm sure you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of my projects can be a drain. So currently, I'm just doing fan art, which is just for fun.
But I've never felt like I had a calling like this before in my life, you know. Um,
Aw,
so
that's
it's
great.
I'm dedicated to seeing it through all the way. So
Cool. I support you.
thank you.
I think it would be cool. I mean, it's a piece of gaming history, regardless of bad feelings.
Well, you should know
It
though that a
is.
lot of people are not going to like it if you say that you support me, probably, because like I have tried extensively to get more people from the anti-Gamergate community to participate, um,
Hmm.
but only like 10 of them have, and so they're
Well, I would not
outnumbered.
say I'm anti Gamergate or pro Gamergate
Right, I wouldn't say you were
because
either,
I just
because
don't
you
know
said you don't know about it,
enough
right?
about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like
I'm
yeah,
anti-harassment. Like, I don't think
based. Me too.
if they are getting harassed, like the Sweet Baby people, I think that's up and people should back off because no game is that serious.
Yeah, I agree. They
Um,
should know. But I'm skeptical when people make harassment claims, but they don't show evidence for it. On any
mm,
side, you know, we've got people with the first GamerGate. There were people who faked their own harassment on both sides, for clout, you know, or
uh,
for whatever reason they decided to do it.
well, that's also annoying.
Yeah, and it makes it worse for like
Yeah.
the real victims because now people are going to doubt them more, right?
Hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. I'm gonna
yeah,
go and get some dinner,
cool. Well, I'm going
but it was
to.
really nice chatting and nice to meet you. Hopefully, well, we'll keep talking, I guess. I'm in your server. You have my gems.
Yeah, I'm always down to talk. I'm kind of a boring person, actually. I don't have a life. My whole life is this Gamergate shit, and then like occasionally other stuff that pops into my orbit. I like you, and other stories I'm covering occasionally. But
Yeah.
right now,
Okay.
just need a break from the YouTube stuff and come back to it in a few days and get back to it. Laying out a media
Good
tour
luck.
for the Kickstarter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I haven't started contacting people yet. I've also got like a huge backlog of emails just from
Do you have
emails and
anyone like
DMs.
running your PR or anything?
No, it's all one person show. Though, you
Mhm.
know, I'm going to hire some artists from the community,
Okay.
from both sides of the Gamergate controversy, hopefully.
Interesting.
Yeah, keep the money in the community, I guess, to some extent.
That should be fun. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, thank you so much. Actually, I
Yeah.
really
Thanks
appreciate
for
you coming
having
on,
me.
and
Yeah,
I hope, hopefully, we've demonstrated very obviously that people should engage in conversations and not try and
hmm,
just assume the worst motivations of other people. So,
exactly. Yeah.
cool. Well,
And
thank you. Do you want
also,
to shout yourself out?
Gumbo doesn't hire anybody. Just like we don't have no money. Give us money, please, so that we can hire people. But
Where can
yeah.
people find you? Where can people get in touch with you or check out
Uh,
your work?
Gumbo is gumbonyc.org. We have a Patreon now, just our work. And then Heart Machine is heartmachine.com. For me, I live online. I don't know. Yiyi Zhang, find me.
Cool. I'll put a link. Do you want a link to your Twitter and websites in the description?
Sure, yeah, that's great.
Okay. Cool. Well, hey, thank you so much. Hey, everyone in chat. I do see we got some people chatting now, and I'll go ahead and I guess we'll raid somebody then, and then we'll go off air. We'll raid Wick. He's talking about the Columbia protests. I don't know anything about the Columbia protest. Oh, is this the Israel-Palestine protest?
Oh.
Probably. Cool. Well, hey, ending stream.